or die. Swing those hips around, can't stop, roll back down. My ladies, short, tall, thin or wide, always down and ready to ride.
Welcome back to the channel, guys. My name is Gene. You guys are watching Primed and Lubed, episode 13 for season number 4. I can't believe we're in season number 4. And yes, this channel has had a few makeovers, if you will. But I think I'm on the right track with everything now. Just trying to get more subscribers. That's one of the main things. We got a lot to talk about. The Oilers had a pretty good week. The loss to Pittsburgh was a little bit questionable, but overall, I'm quite pleased with the week. I had a feeling they were going to lose to Chicago because they are dead last, and Oilers just don't do very good against dead last teams. But they managed to pull it off. It looked a little like they might lose that game. But yeah, we got lots to talk about on this episode. And chime in for final thoughts today. I have something I need to discuss on a personal level with you guys when I get to that point. But I will leave it for that point. And then any of your questions, answers, or whatnot that you may have, or any posts that you want to put up there, or if you want to support certain players, let me know and I will post it up there for all you guys out there. That being said, guys, I could really use a hand with getting my subscriber count up a little bit. So if you're watching this for the first time and dig what I do, feel free to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. It would mean a lot to me to help grow this channel. All right, let's get into the rundown for today as we're going to talk about the Oilers and Bruins game. We're going to go around the league with the stories that happened this week. And yeah, last week it was kind of a dull week. This week we had, unfortunately, a tragic situation in California with the fires there, which canceled one of the games between the Flames and Kings. Real tragic. I know all too well living in British Columbia what that's like. We'll talk about the Oilers and Penguins. We're going to go into reflections. We're going to go into Oilers and Hawks. We'll take a look at the Western Conference standings, and Winnipeg has regained first spot. Spoiler alert in that conference. Also, we'll take a look at the 4 upcoming games this week as the Oilers are set to take on the Kings, Canucks, Avalanche, and Minnesota. Not exactly in that order, but you know what I mean. And then again, we'll get into final thoughts. So let's get into the Edmonton Oilers and the Boston Bruins game that happened on, what was it? That would have been Tuesday, I believe, if I am correct. Yeah, I believe it was Tuesday, and then they played Thursday and then Saturday. So yeah. They own the Bruins this year. For whatever reason, they own the Bruins, and in this game was definitely no exception whatsoever, as they were able to thump them by a count of 4-0. Adam Henrique scored 2 goals, and Connor McDavid scored on a power play midway through the second period as the Edmonton Oilers won their 4th straight game 4-0 versus the Bruins on Tuesday night. Stuart Skinner, who left the game in the first period after a collision with Bruins Nikolai Zadorov, and I'm going to be honest with you, I think he could have got out of the way. I know he was a little bit shoved in by, I don't know which Oiler it was, but I think he could have got out of the way. But regardless, he did return for the start of the second, stopped 26 shots as the Oilers won the 12th time in their last 15 games. And this was also a shared shutout and this is a stat that really bothers me. Calvin Pickard did not stop a single puck, but he gets credited with a shutout, which I don't understand that stat, but that's the way it works. But regardless, they get a shared shutout. I think Stuart Skinner is more than happy to share it with him. Victor Arvidsson added an empty netter for Edmonton, while center Leon Draisaitl's point streak was halted at 14 games. It was the Bruins' fifth straight loss, their worst stretch since interim coach Joe Sacco took over for the fired Jim Montgomery on November 19th. So that just goes to show you that players have to own up at certain points. Like, the coach can only direct the traffic. At the end of the day, the players have to execute. And if they can't, it's on the players. It's not on the coach. We see it way too much. Henrik's first goal made it 1-0 when he beat Jeremy Swayman with a wrist shot from the slot at 6:33 into the game. McDavid's 16th made it 2-0 at 11:11 of the second. Swayman made 35 saves, but lost his fourth straight start. So there you go. There's what some big buck contracts get you. 4 straight losses for Swayman. I mean, buyer beware when it comes to giving contracts to the goaltenders, I guess. All right, let's go into the takeaways. For the Edmonton Oilers, their team speed was just too much for the Bruins, as it's been for much of the teams in the NHL. With the Bruins, it was their second straight home loss after a 6-game home winning streak. So they're kind of slowly fading back. It's an interesting story with the Boston Bruins this year, considering this was a team, I think, 2 years ago, were like setting a NHL record for most wins in an NHL season, and that's kind of like the Oilers with the power play. It's just 2 years ago, there was so much going on that was different. Key stat, it was McDavid's first goal since he helped the Oilers rally in a 3-2 win over the Bruins on December 19th. If you were to ask me that McDavid would go on a stretch of not scoring goals for nearly a month, I would say you're absolutely crazy. But that is the case. McDavid is having troubles finding his way to the net lately for whatever reason. I don't know if he's just trying to be the playmaker too much or what, but he is struggling, but he is working on his game and working on his craft. Adam Henrik scored goals, and Connor McDavid scored on the power play midway through the period as Edmonton Oilers won their 4th straight game on Tuesday night over. Oh, okay. So this is back to the beginning. I guess I missed out the 2 key stats of it, but we will have to move on from that. Anyway, short story short, or long story short, the Boston Bruins have been owned by the Oilers this season. And it's been a tough go for this team as they try to find their way. Captain Brad Marchand, who's going to be be one of the players representing Canada at the Four Nations, he's having troubles finding his way as well. And then there was some reporter that came to a media scrum with the Bruins and right away starting to shake up things, saying, is there some issues with Pasternak and all that? I don't know. Everyone needs a storyline. The media needs a storyline. Everyone needs a storyline, and that's really what goes down. So around the league, we're going to take a look at some of the recent events that have taken place. As we'll start off with the Flames Kings game was postponed due to the California wildfires. Absolute devastation. Again, I live in British Columbia here. Now I live in Vernon, but last year I was living in Kelowna when all that stuff, or 2 years ago when all that stuff was going down in Kelowna and in West Kelowna, and work with people that were evacuated from their house. So I know all too well what these guys go through. And I got to admit, I worked with some guys that were very strong. It didn't faze them. They just went about their business and went to work. And, they didn't know if they had a home, but they still just went about their business, went to work, and that's it. Their attitude was, there's nothing I can do. It's out of my hands. Ovechkin scores his 873rd career goal uh, goal, gets first as Capitals beat the Predators 4-1. I think he's going to do it. I think he's going to break Wayne Gretzky's record before the end of this season. And it's a kind of a bittersweet. You obviously like seeing records being broken, and it's like a big thing. But when it comes to a legend like Wayne Gretzky, I don't really want to see that record broken. But I think he's going to do it before the end of this season. He's only, I believe, 22 goals away from it. Hellebuck gets his sixth shutout of the season as the Jets beat the Avalanche 3-0. And there's already talk about he's a clear-cut winner for the Vezina. I totally agree. And I think he is also going to be the X factor for the U.S. in the upcoming Four Nations tournament. I think if he plays well, U.S. definitely have a legit chance. If he doesn't, I mean, no, I'm not trying to knock Matthews. I'm not trying to knock Eichel. But when you got, McDavid, Crosby, and all the guys that they have on Team Canada, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens. But I think Hellebuck could very well be that X factor that if Canada loses, it's going to be because of Hellebuck. And the Boston Bruins 6-game losing streak ends as they top the Florida Panthers. Good way to end your streak. Beat the Stanley Cup champions. Why not? Flyers beat the Ducks 6-0 in Cutter Gauthier's first visit to Philadelphia since being traded. So, hey, welcome back, Cutter. We're going to hammer on your team tonight. Ha 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 ha. So there you have it. There's the latest news headlines going around the league. And now we are going to go into Game 2, which was the Oilers and Penguins. That's the second time they met this year. And the Penguins, they beat us. They beat us. I was actually messing around for the first 10 minutes of that game, trying to get a printer set up in my office here because I had to get a bunch of legal documents all printed off, and I was having problems with that. So when I finally got to the TV, 10 minutes into the game, it was something like already 3-0 for Pittsburgh or 3-1 or something. I was like, whoa, what is happening here? So I was quite shocked. And the Oilers did try to rally, but it was just not good enough for the guys. And we'll take a look at that game right now. Excuse me. Sid Crosby had a goal and 2 assists to move him 9th on the NHL's career scoring list as the Pittsburgh Penguins beat Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers 5-3 on Tuesday night. The Pens captain tied Hall of Famer Joe Sakic at 1641 for points with an assist on Brian Rust's first period goal. Crosby then moved past Sakic and with an assist on Drew O'Connor's 6th goal of the season later in the period as the Penguins raced to a 4-1 advantage. So a real poor first period by the Edmonton Oilers. Those are the games that you cringe at. You're like, why? Why are they playing this bad? I can accept losses, but man, they can't go behind that much in a first period. They just can't. That's where I start blaming Skinner. That's where I start blaming Nurse. That's where I start blaming Bouchard, McDavid, all that. Like they just. I know everyone has off days and off nights. I get it, but okay. Anyway, I won't get into too much of a bitch fest over that. But I was not very impressed with this game at all. Okay. McDavid finished with 3 assists as Leon Draisaitl scored twice to boost his season total and NHL best at 31. But the Penguins beat Stuart Skinner 4 times in the first 14 minutes. Skinner settled down to finish with 21 saves, but it wasn't enough as the Penguins ended the 4-game winning streak. So my theory here, and I'm not trying to outcoach Knobloch, But once a fourth goal comes in within a 14-minute span, it's time to give the guy the yank. I'm sorry. He only let in one more after that, but he's obviously having a. I almost say if there's 3 goals within the first period, it's time to say, hey, 3 strikes and you're out. But I'm not a coach. Takeaways from this game, their attention to detail in the first period was shaky, you think? While Skinner wasn't at his best, the Penguins also had little trouble generating chances. And that's another major thing. The Oilers were not in their faces at all. They were letting them attack, and when that happens, it's going to happen. The Pittsburgh Penguins remain a work in progress at the midseason point, showed it can be competitive with the league's best even on any given night. Well, yeah, or did the Oilers just have a real bad night? You know, I wouldn't put too much stock into the Pittsburgh Penguins having being able to quote unquote play against the league's best on any given night. I think the Oilers just had a real crappy night. Key moment, Crosby's 12th goal at 5:42 into the second period put the Penguins up 5-1. Some welcome wiggle room as the team has struggled to hold multiple goal leads. You think? And the key stat, 80. The number of points Crosby needs to tie Penguins icon Mario Lemieux for 8th. 1723 on his career list. So there you go. Sid is on his way, being another key guy as we're witnessing potential history out of Ovi. And there you have it. I cannot complain at all regarding that. Okay. So we are going to go into our reflections piece. It is now going to be done once a month. And this one is on a former Oiler who had 2 stints with the Oilers, controversial player, a bit of a movie star. We are doing this one on Mr. Marty McSorley. First installment of Reflections for 2025, I am going to go back to an enforcer who played for the Edmonton Oilers on 2 occasions. Very notable player. However, most of the storylines come when he was on a different team. There was highs, there was lows, from him being charged with assault to having some movie roles. So let's get into the story of Marty McSorley. Martin James McSorley, born May 18th, 1963, is a Canadian former professional hockey player who played in the National Hockey League from 1983 to 2000. A versatile player, he could play both forward and defense positions. He was also head coach of the Springfield Falcons of the American Hockey League from 2002 to 2004. He was a valued teammate of Wayne Gretzky when they played together for both the Edmonton Oilers and the Los Angeles Kings. Serving as an enforcer in 2000, his assault on Donald Brashear with his stick, in which Brashear suffered a severe concussion, led to McSorley's suspension, criminal conviction, and later retirement from hockey. McSorley was born in Hamilton, Ontario, and grew up near Cayuga, Ontario. He made his NHL debut in October of 1983 with the Pittsburgh Penguins, but rose to fame after a trade to Edmonton in September of 85. His arrival and physical presence soon made Edmonton's incumbent enforcer Dave Semenko expendable, and McSorley became known as Wayne Gretzky's bodyguard. This title followed him to Los Angeles in 1988, when both he and Gretzky, along with Mike Krushelnyski, were obtained by rival Los Angeles Kings. With the Kings, McSorley's bruising style made him a fan favorite, but he strove to improve his game beyond his work as an enforcer, earning great respect around the league for his hard work ethic and fine team play, and his articulate intelligence off the ice. In the 1992-93 NHL regular season, McSorley led all defensemen in shorthanded goals with 3. The Kings reached the 1993 Stanley Cup Finals against the Montreal Canadiens, but in Game 2, with the Kings up 2-1, McSorley was caught with an illegal stick, which led to the Canadiens tying the game and winning it in overtime. Montreal eventually took the series in 5 games. McSorley had 10 points in the playoffs and was the only King to score during the final game. Some suggested that he was the second most dominant King after Wayne Gretzky in the playoffs. McSorley was traded in August of '93 to the Pittsburgh Penguins in exchange for offensive forward Sean McEachran. He had played only 47 games for the Pittsburgh Penguins when the Kings reacquired him on February 16, 1994. Back with the Kings, he assisted on Wayne Gretzky's goal, which broke Gordie Howe's all-time goal-scoring record on March 14, 1986. McSorley left the Kings organization for good when he was traded to the New York Rangers in a multi-player deal. After completing the 1995-96 season with the Rangers, McSorley returned back to the West Coast, being acquired by the San Jose Sharks in August of '96. He spent 2 injury-plagued seasons with the Sharks, then returned to Edmonton as a free agent in October of '98. Confined to a part-time role in his second stint in Edmonton, he left after 1 season, signed with the Boston Bruins in December of 1999. In a game between the Boston Bruins and Vancouver Canucks in Vancouver on February 21, 2000, Marty McSorley swung his stick and hit Donald Brashear in the head with 4.6 seconds left in the game. Brashear fell backward, hit his head hard on the ice, losing consciousness and suffering a grade 3 concussion. McSorley was charged with assault and suspended by the NHL for the remainder of the 1999-2000 season and the playoffs, missing 23 games. On October 6, 2000, Judge William Kitchen of the Provincial Court of British Columbia found him guilty of assault with a weapon for his attack on Donald Brashear. He was sentenced to 18 months probation, and the trial would be the first no-on-ice attack by an NHL player since Dino Cincerelli's 1988 trial. After his conviction, his NHL suspension was extended to 1 full year through February 21, 2001. It was the longest suspension for an on-ice incident in modern NHL history. McSorley's contract expired during the suspension, and he would never play another game in the NHL. From 1995 to 1997, McSorley appeared in 4 movies in small roles: Bad Boys and Forget Paris in 1995, Con Air and Do Me a Favor in 1997. So not only did he have a criminal record, but he had also a bit of a movie star role. So yeah, he was definitely a key member of the Boys on the Bus. If you ever get a chance, try to watch that. But he was a very well-liked player, hardworking player. He was a farmer boy, right? So he was raised to work hard. There you guys have it. That's my first installment of Reflections for 2025 on Marty McSorley. We'll do another one next month. Yeah, Marty was again, he was an enforcer. He had his roles with the Oilers and what he brought to the table. He was definitely the next generation of Dave Semenko, as he did protect Wayne Gretzky. All right, let's go into the game that took place last night on Hockey Night in Canada. It was the first game as the Oilers were in the United Center in Chicago, taking on the Hawks. Connor versus Connor. And we'll get right into that right now. as I am ahead too many slides, which is no good. Okay, we'll start from the beginning. Okay. Zach Hyman scored a tie-breaking power play goal in the third period, and the Edmonton Oilers beat the Chicago Blackhawks 4-3 Saturday night. Adam Henrique, who's on fire lately, I might add, Corey Perry, and Vasily Podkozin. I love VP, man. He has been a wonderful addition. I love what he brings to the table. Even Leo loves having him on his line. So he's doing good. He's doing all the right things. So really, really proud of him. Good job for him. But anyway, he also scored as the Oilers would close out the road trip 3-1, which can't go wrong with a road trip like that. Leon had 2 assists. Chicago lost for the 8th time in 10 games. Connor Bedard's career high streak was stopped at 9 games. Teuvo Teravainen and Nick Foligno each had a goal and an assist in the Blackhawks, who beat the Oilers 5-2 in Edmonton on October the 12th. With Chicago's defenseman Nolan Allen in the penalty box for tripping, Hyman gave Edmonton a 4-3 lead when he muscled home his 14th of the season at 7:18 of the third. You know, Hyman really struggled at first, and he was doing everything the same way that he's doing it now. It's just he's getting the puck luck. Like honestly, I look at what Hyman, when he wasn't getting the goals, I look at what he was bringing to the table, and it's just like, it's got to go in sooner or later for this guy. Like, he's doing all the right things. So I never once, and I don't think I did, I don't think I ever bitched at him for his play in the early episodes of this season. Chicago got off to a fast start behind Teravainen, who beat Kelvin Pickard for his 10th goal at 4:45 of the first period. Teravainen then picked up his 20th assist when he played the puck off the end boards, and it bounced right into Foligno on the right side of the net for a 2-0 lead. And again, that was with 4:49 left in the first. And right there is like, yeah, I kind of figured the Oilers would lose to Chicago. I said that to all you guys last week, but it didn't turn out that way. The Oilers would bounce back. Ryan Donato's 13th goal made it 3-1 midway through the second, but Henrique got back for the Edmonton Oilers with a tip that went through Arvid Soderstrom's legs at 15:49. With the Oilers controlling the action in the last part of the period, Perry would tie it at 3 with his 7th goal with 2:30 remaining in the period. So, as old as Perry is, he's still getting the job done. So, Grandpa Perry, keep it up. The takeaways for the Oilers: it was a quiet night for Connor McDavid, but Edmonton still had enough to close out Chicago. The Blackhawks, Teravainen has 4 goals and 13 assists in his last 13 games. Henrique was called for a high sticking with 53 seconds left, but Chicago couldn't come up with the tying score. Draisaitl had 17 goals and 22 assists in 26 games against the Chicago Blackhawks. So he knows how to get points against the Blackhawks. He also knows how to get points against the Preds. So a few teams that Draisaitl feasts on. And there you have it. The Edmonton Oilers, they didn't do too bad. So where does the Oilers stand now in the Western Conference standings? As there has been a little bit of movement, and I got to get my little chart here to find out exactly what there is for movement. So we're going to go down the list here, starting with the Winnipeg Jets, as they are up 1 now in first place. Vegas Golden Knights, obviously, no longer in first place. They went down. Minnesota stays even. Dallas up 2 spots. Edmonton stays even. LA minus 2 spots. And this is all from last week. Colorado even. Vancouver, Calgary, St. Louis, Utah are all even. Anaheim +1. Seattle -1. And then Nashville, San Jose and Chicago remain even. Chicago dead last in the league. Yeah, not really good for the Blackhawks. But there you have it. That's your latest standings. So a little bit of movement when it comes to the potential playoff pairings, as Vancouver would now be playing Winnipeg. The Colorado Avalanche would be taking on Vegas. That would be a good series to watch. Minnesota and Dallas still stay the same. LA and Edmonton stay the same. However, Edmonton now has home ice advantage as opposed to last week. So yeah, like I coined this title and did the thumbnail calling it the stretch run. It literally is like it's time for the boys to really put it together and try to get their home ice advantage throughout the playoffs. Okay, we go down to the upcoming games in the league. As there is 4 games, I'm going to try to rip through this a little bit quick because I don't want to bore you guys to death with all the stats. So I'm going to try to be very, very quick on this one. As the Edmonton Oilers will play 4 games. Monday versus Los Angeles. Then they are on another road trip. So they just come home for 1 after a road trip, and then they're back on the road for 3, possibly 4. I don't even know what next week looks like. As they take on LA on Monday at home, and then Minnesota, Colorado Wednesday, Thursday, and then the Canucks on Saturday for hockey night in Canada. I believe that's hockey day in Canada too on Saturday. So let's get on to the first game, as the Oilers will take on the Los Angeles Kings. Now, the last time they played, the Los Angeles Kings defeated the Edmonton Oilers 4-3, and that was just a couple of weeks ago. If you do recall, Warren Foegele, he had an impact on our team. I think that was like literally 2 weeks ago. So this is the rematch, and we'll see if the Oilers can get a little bit of revenge. The LA Kings come into this game 13th in the league for goals, 23rd in the league for shots on goal, 29th in the league for power play, 14th in the league for faceoffs, 9th in the league for shooting percentage. As far as goals allowed, I got to hover my head around. They are tied for first in the league for goals allowed. So that's a defensive stat you don't really necessarily like to see. And they are first in the league for shots on goal allowed. Sorry, I have to hover my head around because I have my camera obstructing my stats here. And then for penalty minutes, they are 16th in the league. So they're not too bad. They're kind of midway point at 8.4 minutes per game. And then they are 11th in the league for the penalty kill at 81.8. So they got a fairly decent penalty kill. Their last 10 games, they are 6-2-2, so they are starting to play better. LA's actually pretty good this year. I don't know why, because I thought losing Arvidsson would hurt them, but I don't know. Warren Foegele seems to found a home in LA, and he's doing pretty well. As of now, the Oilers are on a 1-game losing streak. The Oilers on a 1-game winning streak, which means nothing really. The away record for the Kings is 10-9-4, so they are above 500. The Oilers' home record is 14-7-1. And when it comes to the goaltenders, Darcy Kemper has a record of 12-2-5 for a .216 goals against average and a .919 save percentage with 2 shutouts. Skinner, 16-9-3 with a .277 goals against average and a .898 save percentage with 1 shutout. Then they will fly over to, I believe it's Minnesota, to take on the Wild on Wednesday night at the XL Energy Center. Minnesota, a little bit different, a little bit stronger of a team. They are 3rd in the league for goals. Shots on goal, 17th in the league. Power play, 22nd in the league. Only hovering around 18.5% on the power play. So yeah, they're definitely working to try to be better at that. Face-off percentage, 27th in the league at 48.1%. Oilers are pretty good on the dot. You know, Oilers are going to own them when it comes to that. Why is that important? I've mentioned it on several occasions to you guys. It's important because once you win the faceoff, you control the puck. You're tiring out the other team. 15th they're tied for 15th in the league for shooting percentage at 10.7. 7th in the league at 2.7. 26th in the league at 29.3. 10th in the league for penalty minutes at 7.4. Penalty kill is at 29th in the league at 72.1. So both of their special teams are not exactly something to write home about. Philip Gustafson has a record of 18-7-3 with a 244 goals against average, 918 save percentage, 3 shutouts. He's the only goaltender, I think, right now in the league that is giving Hellebuck any potential chance of taking away the Vezina. And he's got only 3, whereas Hellebuck's got 6 shutouts. So that right there shows you how good Hellebuck is for the Winnipeg Jets. So yeah, I don't think he's going to catch him. I think safe to say that Hellebuck has the Vezina pretty much gift wrapped and ready to be delivered to his house. This will be a back-to-back night as they will take on the Colorado Avalanche the very next day in Denver. And Colorado is a team that, after they won the Stanley Cup and then they lost Nazem Kadri, just something with that, as much as we don't really think of Nazem Kadri as a superstar because he hasn't really done much in Calgary, but there was something about that Colorado Avalanche team when they won that cup that year that everything was clicking for that team. For goals, Colorado is 7th in the league at 3.32, 10th in the league for shots on goal, 17th in the league for the power play. Face-off percentage, tied for 30th. So again, the Oilers will probably own them on the face-off dot. Shooting percentage, 6th in the league at 11.3. Shots on goal, 19th in the league at 3.11. Shots on goal, 6th in the league. Penalty minutes, 7th in the league. Penalty kill, 20th in the league. They figure this night Picard would probably get the start and Mackenzie Blackwood will probably start for the Avalanche with a record of 14-11-4, 233 goals against average, 919 save percentage, and 1 shutout. And they have here, I'm looking at this, it says Calvin Picard has 0 shutouts, but I do believe he got a shared shutout in that game where they had to pull again in the game against Boston, where the Spotters pulled Skinner and put him in, and he didn't register a single shot, but it was a shutout. So I'm a little confused by that stat. So I think he did actually get the shutout on that one. Then the Oilers are going to wrap up the week next Saturday night in Vancouver against the Canucks, who are going through a lot of drama right now. And I think this is really hurting this team. They need to start figuring it out. And I talked to one of my coworkers. Me living in BC, I'm an Edmonton Oilers fan. There's more Vancouver fans, obviously. I don't have a problem with that. But what I'm seeing in Vancouver and what I'm seeing with JT Miller, and I discussed this with my one coworker, Blair. I told him, Bo Horvat, problem with JT Miller. If you remember last year, there was a goaltender that was in behind the pipes when JT Miller smashed his stick out of frustration because he wouldn't go off the bench to add the extra attacker. And now this stuff going on with Pettersson. I mean, and then when I told him that there was actually a trade brewing that would have brought Zibanejad to the Canucks in exchange for JT Miller, my buddy he absolutely lost it. He wishes that trade would have happened because let's face it, there is a cancer in that dressing room. And I'm not going to point fingers if it's JT. I'm not going to say it's Pettersson. But a lot of the evidence from previous years indicate that JT could very well be the problem. I'm not saying anything. I'm not going to go any further with that. But what I'm witnessing, I would say so. Anyway, we'll get into this game now and the stats for this game and what to expect. As Vancouver, they had a great year last year. They won the Pacific, but this year, much different team. 19th in the league for goals, 31st in the league for shots on goals. So they're having trouble generating shots. And that boils down to JT. That's Pedersen. That's Besser. That's the whole works, right? What is going on with that team generating shots? Power play, 14th in the league. 19th in the league for faceoffs. Shooting percentage is 4. Goals allowed is 17th. 8th in the league for shots on goal. 25th in the league for penalty minutes at 9.4. So they do take a few too many penalties. And the penalty kill is at 12th in the league at 81.5. Thatcher Demko, who returned to the Canucks this year after a lengthy ailment or injury, or I don't know exactly what was going on with him. It was a mysterious illness that he was going through. Is trying to get back to form. He's still sub 900. But when you're out that long, it's going to take a while to find your game again. He has a 317 goals against average, 883 save percentage, no shutouts. Stuart Skinner likely to get the start in that game. Canucks will be going into this game with a record, as of now, of 19, 13, and 10. Their home record, 7, 8, and 6. So they are below 500 for home ice wins. Last 10, 3, 3, and 4, and they are on a one-game winning streak. As the Oilers will go into this one, again, playing very well on the road with 12, 6, and 2. The last time they played was November 9th, where the Edmonton Oilers defeated them 7-3. Now, if you recall, last year, they opened the season to an 8-1 thumping, I think it was, against the Canucks, and then lost the next one after that. Like, really bad scores. Like, they really cleaned our clock last season. So it's kind of the script has been flipped, if you will. And there you have it. There's your 4 games. I hope I ran through it quick enough for you guys. But we'll see what happens and how the Oilers will manage going forward in that. And now it's time for the poll. All right. So we're witnessing history, okay? Not only out of Ovi, but we're witnessing Sid chasing Lemieux. We're witnessing it's a good time for hockey. Me personally, I am, I grew up at a very young age witnessing the greatness of Gretzky. And for me to see this particular record potentially broken, it's a sting. It does sting, and he will do it. It's a matter of time. So the question I have for you guys on the poll is, just get up that graphic there. Will Alex Ovechkin score 22 more goals this season to pass the Oilers legend and first ballot Hall of Famer inductee Wayne Gretzky? Personally, I think he will do it. Again, guys, I don't do the voting on my community page anymore. It's done through X, as I'm getting a much more better result with the votes. So scan that QR code. It'll take you directly to my X page for Primed and Lubed, and place your vote. I'd like to hear from you, and then I will release the results next week, as I'm about to do next week's results right now. And the results I had. So what we've seen out of Leon Draisaitl this year. How do you feel the contract that he signed in the summer now? How do you feel about his contract that he signed? I gave you 3 options. Was he overpaid? Was it spot on? Was it a bargain? 90% of you guys thought it was spot on. I think I never voted, but I think it's a bargain, actually. I think we're going to find out in the next, year or two. I remember when he signed that 8 million, again, going back to what I was saying last week, when he signed that 8 million, I was like, holy cow, that's a lot of dough for him. That turned out to be a bargain. It was the one few things that Peter Chiarelli did for the Edmonton Oilers at that time. So, yeah, place your vote, and we will go forward with that. Now it's time to get into some final thoughts. So if you guys have any questions or comments to make, feel free. Unfortunately, guys, I'm going through a bit of a tough go with, my mother's actually going through a tough go right now. And I was actually thinking of canceling and shutting down the channel for a few weeks because when I mean tough go, I'm talking my mom is not doing very well at all. And I was thinking of shutting it down, but one thing that this channel brings to me is it allows me to be creative and bring on all that stuff and takes my mind off of a lot of stuff. So I decided to go forward with it and truck through with it. That being said, guys, if I miss a week here, just know that within this time frame, there's a lot of stuff going on. And I will apologize to you when I return, if it's a week or 2 or 3, depending on what happens in the next few weeks to come. But I will try to stay on because, again, it allows me to get my mind off of a lot of stuff. That being said, guys, I really appreciate you guys watching these videos. I'm working at getting better and better and better, and hopefully I can get a little bit more subscriber counts. That being said, I'm not in it for monetization. This is a hobby for me. If I get monetized, hey, having a few extra bucks wouldn't hurt. But I do enjoy doing this just because I'm such a diehard Edmonton Oilers fan. I've witnessed greatness. I've seen so much out of this Edmonton Oilers team over the years, and I feel we are this close from greatness again, as the Edmonton Oilers may get their Stanley Cup this year in 2025. None of you guys chimed in for comments, so with that being said, I am gonna part ways for this week. And again, let's just hope that things go in a certain direction with my mother here. But again, that's all up to God and God's will, as my mother is a very religious person. So anyway, guys, thanks for your support. I will see you next week on the channel, and we will talk soon.